This month, high-tech, high-speed cruising. Foiling for fun. A new plan for the America's Cup. And new moves in racing.
Definitely think I want to do sailing for the rest of my life.
But first, after 18 months behind closed doors, an impressive new beast comes out into the open. Before Thomas Coville had even set out on last year's Route de Rome single-handed transatlantic race, his mind was already thinking about the future. The famous French sailor had set a new single-handed non-stop around the world record on Christmas Day in 2016. Now he was a household name. But 12 months later, his record had been broken as Francois Gabar's sailing Massif slashed 7 days off Coville's time. In between these two solo records, Francis Joyon's team aboard IDEX Sport had set a new record for the fastest fully crewed lap of the planet with a time of just 40 days for 24,000 miles. Suddenly, these giant 32-metre Ultime class trimarans were the talk of the town.
I think it's the beginning of a new world. We are starting something new, and actually we've got that feeling on the ultimate category. We feel that something is moving, and something is moving forward.
Coville's new boat was already under construction and due to be launched shortly after he finished the Route de Rome. With other teams looking to build their own brand new Ultimes, he was understandably coy about revealing too much. His arch rivals were alongside him in the dock before the start. Some, like Sébastien Josse aboard Edmond de Rothschild and Armel Leclerc on Banque Populaire, already had their new boats in the water. Others were still working on their plans.
I'm not going to tell you much about it because Massif is making a study just at the moment for a new one. But it's really different boats. Very different condition. We've been building this boat. It's when I came back from around the road trip, I told the team that it was too complicated and too complex to have only one man, one architect to design such a machine. So we decided not having an architect, but to create a design team. So we went to get some people from Benetton Racing, from Morocco, and we built a design team around me. The way we've been thinking differently makes us designing a totally different boat. So it's already a revolution, and especially for offshore sailing.
Building a 32-metre offshore trimaran to take on the world is a huge undertaking. And to succeed, you also have to be good at keeping secrets. Here, Coville and his team were very adept. But during our interview, when he started talking about weight, he also dropped some hints as to how different his new boat would be.
We tried to put in the center of these new boats the way that the weight needs to be centered, and you will see it's totally different. But it's also because it's really open-minded in this class. We are just at the beginning of a new class, so everything is still possible.
Totally different was no exaggeration. When Sodebo emerged through the doors of the Multiplast yard and van, there was one detail of her design that stood out immediately: the position of the cockpit. Normally the cockpit will be behind the mast and towards the back of the boat. On the new Sodebo, it's in the middle of the boat, ahead of the mast. The cockpit area represents around 25% of the weight of the central hull. Moving it forwards, close to the middle of the boat, helps to lower the overall centre of gravity and makes for a more powerful machine. The move also reduces the pitching movement, a crucial performance factor, especially for multihulls. With the weight position more centrally, the T-foil rudders can balance the fore and aft trim of the boat more efficiently, which means they can be smaller and exert less drag. Moving the cockpit forward also meant that the mainsail boom could be closer to the deck, improving the efficiency of the sail. Meanwhile, with the new beast out in the open, the team revealed how she was built. Starting with the open halves of the hull shells, the internal structure was attached. Then the two halves of the main hull were bonded together. In the foreground, the central pod accommodation takes shape. The forward crossbeam goes into position before the rear crossbeam slides into place. Next come the outer hulls, the sponsons. Sodebo is now 24 metres wide. With the major assembly complete, paint is applied before the equipment fit-out starts. Only then was it time to reveal what the team had created. While the cockpit was the first focus, below the waterline she has giant hydrofoils designed to make her fly. But aside from the detail, today was special.
Ce moment-là particulier, il est que même pour nous, c'est le premier moment où tout est assemblé et tout prend finalement, c'est à ce moment-là que tout prend sens. Et c'est ça qui crée une émotion incroyable pour nous tous et qu'on partage finalement de façon très spontanée avec les gens qui sont là. Il n'y a que à ce moment-là que nous aussi on réalise concrètement ce qu'on a fait depuis 2 ans.
After 18 months in the boatyard, getting the beast into the open was a relief. But as the team prepared Sodebo for her maiden sail, it was clear that they were still rather camera shy. And that's hardly surprising. Building a beast of this type is a monster project. Gaining an edge takes talent and time. And just a moment to lose it. And keeping the show on the road is a task in itself. Less than 24 hours after the start of last year's Route de Rome, Gitana had lost a large section of her starboard bow. Banque Populaire had capsized and broken up. 2 brand new and tested boats ripped apart in seconds. Thankfully, their skippers were safe. Coville himself suffered structural damage to his record-breaking workhorse, but after stopping for repairs in La Coruna, was able to complete the race. So while from a distance the old boat looked much the same as the new, Coville's latest machine is radically different. And while the team was happy to show her off, it will be a while before they allow us a closer look. How important is winning? Be it the heat of the battle, the lure of the podium, or the recognition of success under a champagne shower.
Team New Zealand!
It's easy to see why winning matters. But not to everyone. The tide is turning in some quarters, and questions are being asked about whether outright victory should really be the most important thing, especially for young sailors. In San Diego, USA, at the Open BIC North American Championships, there was strong support for Mission Bay Yacht Club's approach to the issue.
We do capsizes and 360s, which makes racing really fun.
I think the Bridge of Doom could be a little taller.
I like that they have cool twists to the courses, like the Bridge of Doom and the Gauntlet, and the courses are just really cool.
It's really fun, like it's not as competitive, it's more about enjoying sailing.
I like that the kids can have fun and do things like freestyle and just have fun in the boats and play around a bunch.
The Open BIC class only started in Southern California 3 years ago, but it's already a big hit. 86 boats had arrived in San Diego for the North American Un-Regatta, and the message was clear from the start.
We are here to bring you guys together because many of you guys will be friends for life. This is an Un-Regatta, and our focus is on fun, boat handling, getting better as sailors, sportsmanship, all those good things. Capsizes, freestyle, speed, obstacles, and fun will be required.
The event included both conventional racing as well as some unorthodox courses, including a leg of the course that had to be sailed standing up, and a limbo under the Bridge of Doom.
Stand up to the first ring.
I think I'm like Un-Regatta, but I didn't really know what to think about that. But it's actually really fun. You get to stand up, you get to capsize under the Bridge of Doom, and it's still all competitive racing with all these fun things that you get to do.
No 2 days were the same.
So this morning we are doing freestyle. So you will have heats of 3 minutes to express yourself. Whatever you can do to impress our panel of undistinguished judges.
Even the lay day was different.
It gets me like every time. I don't know why. Open Vic is probably my favorite boat to sail because it's really fast and really maneuverable.
Yeah, Bics are amazing and the entire community is amazing because it gets rid of the entire burnout factor that other youth boats have, and it definitely keeps you in the sport.
Bic is just a lot more fun. All the kids are nicer, and I like all the Un-Regatta style to it.
Definitely think I want to do sailing for the rest of my life because Bix is so fun that it makes me want to do other boats.
So while medals and champagne are always great to receive, maybe the path to the other end of the sailing scene could be even more fun and keep more kids in the sport for longer. Coming up next, the Eagle has launched. Plus, a new plan for the Cup. Welcome back. Still to come, alternative foiling. A new plan for the America's Cup. But first, how a new Cruising Cats crew is preparing to fly. Not everything that's fast is bound for the racetrack. And not everything that flies on water does so at the hands of decorated racing sailors. The technology trickled down from the America's Cup and other foiling events is starting to change thinking outside of the racing arena. American builders Fast Forward Composites in Bristol, Rhode Island, are looking to take the new technology and use it to create a radical, fast cruising cat.
I've been working for a gentleman now for 16 years, and at the America's Cup, he was very excited. He's an enthusiast yachtsman, and his name is Donald Sussman. And he said, let's try this. I want to have a boat that has a wing and can foil. So we started working on that. The idea was to create a 70 to 80 foot boat. That's a day sailor, that's for just going fast and having fun. Mr. Sussman is not interested in racing. So that was what he wanted. And then we decided that instead of having all of this technology on such a big platform, we'd go with something half the size. So we started with a 45-foot platform which due to safety became a 53-foot platform, 28-foot wide.
The climb up the learning curve started with the sail plan and making a solid wing manageable for amateur sailors.
We started developing what we call the hybrid wing, which is a one-element wing, which takes a soft sail in the back. Also, the hybrid wing had to be practical, so it rotates 360 degrees, and due to the way it's built and it's balanced with modern materials, it makes it so that way you could engage the wing when you don't want to go fast and just sail simply. It also makes it so you could unplug the wing and bring the boat to the dock, and it rotates 360 degrees, keeps your boat on a mooring.
The next focus was even more ambitious, the foils.
We wanted to have stable foils and efficient foils, so that brought us to T-foils. We put them angled out, which made our platform wider than obviously angled it in. So that started bringing us to the point of how we're going to control these flaps and elevators. So we started doing nuts and bolts research. We came up with a couple of gentlemen from Portugal. We assembled a team, got a lot of information, and just started experimenting. And 1,800 hours later, we were able to foil.
But Gonzalez is all too aware of the scale of the challenge and the unprecedented nature of the project.
We're going to step it up slowly. We're going to crawl before we walk, before we run, and before we sprint. So we're going in the water with C-foils. We'll be slowly developing our testing system. So that way we'll get used to the wing, the operating program, sail here all winter with C-foils, and then once the owner and myself obviously are used to this platform, then we'll go ahead and next spring put our T-foils on and off we go.
And at that point, Gonzalez's vision of fast cruising will take a big step forward.
Once we go with T-foils, the boat's designed for seat belts. We've decided that when we're on T-foils at 35 knots, we're gonna, thanks to computing, we're gonna take the boat away and just land you. So there will be limits unless you have one of the gods of sailing, a professional sailor with you, then we'll lift those limits. Through your cell phone, you can do miracles now.
But in the meantime, having launched the new Eagle 53 in St. Thomas in the US Virgin Islands, the team was preparing for the first round of testing. The light winds and flat seas provided perfect conditions for her maiden sail. At just 6 tons, she weighs around a third of a conventional cruising cat of this size, with a significantly more powerful sail plan. Gonzalez knows it will take time to get used to her, as the crew gradually ramp up the performance. Yet this is still a cruising boat at heart, with the trimmings to match. So while the racing world continues to push at the boundaries of design and technology, Gonzalez Eagle 53 is a good example as to how the cruising world is catching on quickly. The road to the next America's Cup in 2021 has changed, following the postponement of the first World Series event that was due to take place in Cagliari in Sardinia during September this year. The inaugural event has now moved to late April 2020. Part of the reason lies with problems in the construction of the giant canting arms for the new AC-75 foiling monohulls. Components that are being designed and supplied by Luna Rossa. In an interview on Radio Sport, Emirates Team New Zealand's Kevin Shoebridge explained the issues and the latest changes.
Failed sooner than it was engineered, so instead of just carrying on down a blind tunnel, the decision was made to do a redesign, start from scratch. There's been more input, more design input and engineering input from all the teams, come up with a solution, and all of those 4 arms are now under construction at Persico, the same yard in Italy.
Time was also a factor, especially for the Kiwi team.
There was a situation there where even ourselves, we would have been lucky to have 3 weeks sailing here before we had to put the boat on a ship and send it to Europe to race, which really not ideal. It's going to take longer than that to get sorted, and you've got new teams that you've got to allow for. They physically wouldn't have been able to make it. So although the foil arms have been part of that decision, there was a lot of other things in play to wanting that first regatta to be a really good regatta and a competitive regatta where everyone's sailing properly. It felt better to push it into early next year.
But when it comes to next year's programme of racing, there are further changes in store.
The idea at this stage is to try and do 4 events in 2020. Cagliari, obviously, in late April. The possibilities of Europe and the USA. One of those probably in June. The one after that probably late August, early September. And the 4th one, which is a relatively new one, which is possibly back here in Auckland around October.
As foiling spreads throughout the sailing world, racing is frequently dominating the action. Yet some are finding different ways to enjoy the foiling revolution.
To rise up, get your hands up. We taking over the game. And if you're looking for change, I suggest you do the same. Come on, y'all, it's time to rise up. Get your hands up. We taking over the game. And if you're looking for change, I suggest you do the same. Change, I suggest you do the same.
Next month, inside the mind of an around-the-world racer. And new names rise to the top on the road to Tokyo.